So at the making of this video, the Boston Celtics have a 26-25 record. They're currently the number 9 seed in the Eastern Conference. This was a year where there wasn't really any big expectations for the Celtics. People were just hoping that the additions of Josh Richardson, Dennis Schroeder, and Al Horford, along with the development of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, would be good enough for them to at least make them like a good team in the Eastern Conference. That simply has not been the case, and the Celtics are barely above 500, and they're not even one of the better teams in the East. If there wasn't a play-in tournament, they wouldn't even make the playoffs right now. The Celtics have just been very disappointing to start the season, and this has led me to make this video where I'll be discussing the problems with the Celtics so far this season and why they haven't been good. But before we get into the video, I ask you to drop a like on this video as it does help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want daily NBA content. Also, if you want to help me reach my goal of 3,000 subscribers, also drop a comment on this video as I do respond to all of my comments. Play that intro. The first and most obvious reason for the Celtics being trash, disappointing, and mediocre this season is due to the fact that their offense has not been as good. And I know when you look at this team, they have two guys who can score 25, 30 points on any given night. They have two of the best scorers in the league on their team in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. You would think that they could at least be a good offense, but sadly, even though Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are both playing at an elite level, as Tatum's averaging 26 points on okay efficiency and Jaylen Brown's averaging 25 points on really good efficiency, the rest of the roster is simply not good on offense. Outside of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, no one else can really create their own shot at even a good level. Their third best shot creator is probably Dennis Schroeder, and he simply is not an amazing shot creator. Although he actually has been solid this season, he hasn't been amazing, but he also hasn't been terrible. But honestly, the biggest problem with this team is the fact that they have no three-point shooters. They're one of the worst spaced out teams in the league. They only shoot 34% from three, and they rank 23rd in the league in three-point percentage. They also rank 11th in the league in three-point attempts, so maybe they shouldn't even be shooting that much because they clearly don't have the three-point shooters to be attempting that much threes. The best shooter on this team outside of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum is Grant Williams, who's shooting 42% from three. Credit to him, but he's only taking 3 threes a game, so it's not like he's an amazing shooter. The next best shooter is Josh Richardson. He's shooting 39%, but he's also only attempting 3 three-pointers a game. And then Peyton Pritchard is also shooting 36% from 3, but then again, he's only taking 3 attempts. And then besides those 3 guys, the rest of the team is just a bunch of below average shooters outside of Jaylen Brown. Even Jason Tatum's not shooting that well from 3. He's shooting lower than 33%. This team literally has no spacing. It's just a very non-fluent offense. A lot of their offense is either just ISO or just give the ball to someone who's actually not good enough to make plays for themselves or others and just hope they do. Sometimes this team's offense is actually really hard to watch, and I think a lot of the credit to their offense not being good has to go to their roster just not having great offensive players, and also to their coach, who is not amazing at running plays. The plays are simply not good enough, and he relies too much on the individual talent of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. The Celtics are also ranked 19th in the league in free throw attempts, and when you have two guys who attack the basket as much as Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, I would have expected them to rank higher in the league. Even Dennis Schroeder, most of his game is just attacking the rim. The biggest thing with the Celtics is the fact that they're actually one of the 5 best finishing teams in the league. When they're in the restricted paint, there's only 4 other teams who are better at them, at finishing at the rim. But they're not even top 10 in the league when it comes to percentage of points in the paint, and that just shows me that Jason Tatum especially and the other players need to stop shooting so much threes and jump shots and need to start attacking the rim some more. But that could be kind of hard to do when you have no floor spacing because the defense just sagging off everyone, so I can't blame them entirely. But when it comes to the Celtics not being good, I don't know how they're going to improve unless they make a big trade, and I mean a big trade, not trading for Evan Fournier how they did last season. They need to make a big trade, and I don't know if Danny Ainge is willing to do that. He never has been. The next huge problem with the Boston Celtics is their bench and just depth in general. The bench scoring is absolutely terrible. They're the third worst team in the league when it comes to bench scoring. Whenever their bench is in the game, they just get way worse. The starting lineup isn't even bad at all, but as soon as they start to play the bench, they're just absolutely terrible. Their best and most reliable bench guy is literally Josh Richardson, who averages 7 or 8 points. He's not a guy who creates his own shot. He's just a spot up guy or a guy who can occasionally attack the rim. Dennis Schroeder has actually been coming off the bench for a lot of the season, and he's actually a really good bench player. But Dennis is literally their only guy who's above average coming off their bench. Everyone else is players who wouldn't even be getting playing time on a really good team, which is just sad. This is what holds them back because their bench just has blown so much big leads for them. Whenever people are talking about how the Celtics are always blowing big leads, is because the starters get them a kind of big lead, like a 15-point lead, and the bench comes in and blows it to 5 or get 5 points or whatever. I've seen it happen countless times. Their bench is easily their second biggest problem. If they could just get some better depth, they would be way better. It's actually crazy to see Boston having a problem with depth, because before it was the opposite. They were complaining about having too much good players. They had guys like Terry Rozier, who could be a starter in the league. They had Aaron Baines, a solid center. They had Jaylen Brown at times and Marcus Smart at times coming off the bench. And they even had Gordon Hayward coming off the bench. Just so much great bench depth. And now they're complaining about Josh Richardson being their best bench player. It's actually sad to see. To be honest, I don't know how Boston's going to improve their bench, and it doesn't really look like they have too much assets to trade for bench depth. Maybe Marcus Smart or maybe Robert Williams, but I don't think they will or should trade Robert Williams. But to be honest, we'll have to see. The third and final reason I think the Boston Celtics haven't been as good is due to the fact that they're a team that has actually had to deal with many players being injured and many players just missing time due to the protocols, because they played 50 games or so, but a guy like Jaylen Brown has missed 14 games this season. He's their second best player, and on a lot of nights he's actually their best player, so missing him is very pivotal. Marcus Smart has missed 8 games this season, and with us only playing 50 games, that is a significant amount of time. Robert Williams has missed a significant amount of time, as he's missed 10 games, and he's probably their third or fourth best player, which is not that great, but he is their third or fourth best player. And also Al Horford has missed 10 games. Josh Richardson has missed 12 games. Even though he's not that great of a player, he still is their best bench player, so missing him definitely makes them worse. So I would say the Celtics haven't been fully healthy this season, and maybe you could say if they were fully healthy this season that they would have been better, but every team in the league has dealt with injuries. It's not like the Celtics are the only ones, and there's countless other teams who have dealt with injuries way worse than the Celtics, and they still have been good. For example, the Bucks and the Sixers. Even the Brooklyn Nets have dealt with injuries worse than them, and they have a better record. Even the Bulls, actually, for being honest. So honestly, I don't think if the Celtics were fully healthy, they would be better than any of the other teams, the elite teams, but I can't just fully ignore that they have dealt with some significant injuries. To conclude the video, I honestly don't think the Celtics are good. I don't think any team fears them. I don't see a world where they beat any of the top teams in the East outside of maybe the Cavs. They're not beating Brooklyn. They're not beating Miami. They're not beating the Bucks. They're not beating the Bulls. They're not beating the 76ers probably. Out of all of the teams that are low tier, there are actually a lot of teams that I consider more scary than the Celtics. I think the Raptors are a better team. I think the Hornets are a better team. And I would even say the Hawks are a better team simply because of what we saw from them in the past. I don't think the Celtics scare anyone, and to be honest, I think they need to make a big trade. I would say that they shouldn't trade Jaylen Brown, but at this point they don't have too much assets. This team is just way too untalented, and big changes are definitely gonna have to come this offseason if they want to go far in the playoffs. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video. Let me know whether or not you think Boston's even going to make the playoffs. Drop a like on this video to help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want daily NBA content. Also, if you want to reach a goal of 3,000 subscribers. Also, drop a comment on this video, as I do respond to all of my comments. And play that intro.